Hi, everybody. Mr. Allwell here. Today, we're going to be talking about a place called Mesopotamia. Now, Mesopotamia is loosely translated as the land between two rivers. Meso meaning between, and Potamia meaning the rivers. Now, cities began to grow in Mesopotamia in an area between two very important rivers for civilization called the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. This is in the Middle East, right in the heart of the Middle East, right in what we now call Iraq. And people settled there because it had fertile soil, and that's going to be very important for agrarian-based or agricultural-based societies, is having fertile soil. And that's why civilization is going to start in this area called Mesopotamia. Now, to give you guys a little bit of a visual, this is us here over in the United States. New Jersey's right about here. And if you go basically due east, maybe a little southeast, you get to where Mesopotamia was located, this area right here in the Middle East, right where Iraq is, to the north of Saudi Arabia, to the east of Israel, parts of Syria. That is where Mesopotamia was located in that fertile crescent that we spoke about earlier. Now, I'll give you guys a little closer of a visual. This green here is the fertile crescent. These lines here are the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. The land in between is where tons of civilizations are going to flourish, as you see by these dots. Right along the rivers, in between the rivers, and to the side of the rivers, lots of different cities are going to develop because of the waterways. Now, again, Mesopotamia is located in Iraq. The Fertile Crescent goes from the Persian Gulf down over here where the country of Kuwait is and Iran, up into what's now Turkey and through Syria, where the Kurds live in northern Iraq and Syria and Turkey, and then down through Lebanon into what's now Israel, part of what is Jordan, and into what is Egypt. That is the Fertile Crescent. Think about to your science classes where you saw a crescent moon. Now, as I said, Mesopotamia, okay, it's not like it was never a town or a country called Mesopotamia. It's just the area that historians have given that name to describe where many different civilizations emerged. Now, Mesopotamia is part of the Fertile Crescent, and again, it goes from the Mediterranean Sea, where Israel is today, the land of Canaan. We see Jerusalem here. It goes up and down, okay? A very fertile soil. Many civilizations live there, and you may or may not be able to see it down the bottom, but it says that it is in a crescent shape. Okay, think the moon. Now, they consider this to be the cradle of civilization, or the birthplace of civilization. This is where we find our first examples of writing, first examples of true government. It was, think of it like the baby. You put the baby in a cradle, the cradle of civilization. And this began 5,500 years ago. So we're talking roughly 3,500 years BC or BCE. Now, as I said, many different communities called city-states are going to form along the river. These are noted in these little black dots. Okay, these are different city-states. And there's going to be many different empires that are going to come around. We're not really going to talk much about these, But we are going to talk about, later on, we're going to talk about a place called Sumer, which is going to be located right down here in what's now southern Iraq, northern Kuwait, and it's the land in between the rivers of Mesopotamia. Now, each one of these city-states had their own governments, they had their own kings, they had different gods, and the people who we are going to spend a lot of time talking about are the Sumerians from Sumer. This is where the rivers met together. So this is the area that we're going to be talking about right over in here. Now, why did they develop? Because farming. Farming is going to be the answer for successes of civilizations. Eventually, it's not at first successful, but eventually it does become successful. We'll learn why in our textbook reading. But because it becomes successful, people are able to gain or to create surpluses. A surplus is an extra amount. For example, I have a surplus of pencils. I have more pencils than I could ever know what to do with. Well, people did this with food. And coming from a time where people were previously living just to be able to eat, the idea of having a surplus of food was revolutionary. People now didn't have to worry about finding or hunting to get the amount of calories they needed for a day to survive. They could do other things. They could live in cities. They could have other occupations. But that brought about new problems. Now they're building these cities. People are living together. We now have warriors invading other cities, wanting what they have. So in order to do that, a lot of these city-states walled in their cities for protection. And back 5,500 years ago, that was a very effective way of handling this sort of situation. All right, well, I think that's where we're going to stop for today. As you see, we're going to go on to the Sumerians later on, but we're going to stop here for today. And thank you very much. Have a good day.